is changing. This is the opening sentence of an iconic book from Murray Schafer called The Soundscape. This book was published in 1977, 41 years ago. But this sentence is still valid today more than ever. We live in cities and in spaces with plenty of beautiful sounds, but also with lots of unwanted noise. What are the sounds that we like to live in? And what are the sounds and the noises we want to escape from? Let me show you an example. This town is called Isola Liri. It's in Italy, and it's 5 minutes away from the town where I was born and I grew up. It's the only place in the world where there is a waterfall right in the center of the town. As you heard, the sound of the waterfall is very loud, and it has a broad spectrum which resemble the ones of white noise. But no one is complaining about the sound. And at the same time, if we walk in a park, no one would complain about the birds singing, the dogs barking, the wind in the trees, but everyone complains about the noise of mobility. And this is the reason why the advent of electric cars has generated lots of enthusiasm among people, because for the first time we could associate the idea of mobility with the experience of silence. Cars can finally be silence, peace in the street, a silent revolution in the cities. But silence can also be a problem. The absence of sounds, in fact, can be quite dangerous. If you think to blind people who can't see a car approaching, and now if they are electric, they cannot even hear them, or just think of every one of us as we are absorbed in our thoughts, we are walking around the city, and we just disconnect from the surroundings. In all those situations, sound can become our precious companion. Sound is one of the most wonderful gifts of our universe. Sound is emotion, and sound is sublime. And when it comes to cars, sound is also information. So in order to protect pedestrians around the world and to give an acoustic feedback to drivers, governments around the world have introduced legal requirements that prescribe the presence of a sound for electric vehicles. In particular, they prescribed minimum sound level at specific frequency ranges up to the speed of 30 kilometers per hour. Beyond this speed, the tire noise is considered to be as sufficient. Now, these regulations have created lots of reaction, positive among those who favor the presence of sound, and negative among those who fear the presence of too much noise in the city. But I see it as an opportunity, because I don't see it as the noise of the car. I rather see it as the voice of the car. And this is one of my biggest challenge and privilege at the same time, because I compose the sound of an electric car. Now, everyone knows how a combustion engine sounds like. And actually, if you think of the electric tramways, you also know how an electric engine sounds like. So it's this very slight ascending high-frequency tone that we call whistling sound. However, if we would just amplify this sound, we would still not fulfill the legal requirements. That's also why we need to compose a new sound. So how do we go after it? In many cities, there is lots of traffic and lots of chaos, and we don't need more chaos. But the streets of the 21st century offers a great opportunity. It's a great study teeming with transience, cross-purposes, and disarray. And for us, it's a landscape that allows to conceive new ideas for how can we reduce this chaos. So I have conceived an approach that tries to reduce the chaos by introducing harmony. Since no one actually knows how could an electric car sounds like, we have to produce, first of all, a sound that is a reference for the future. Something that didn't exist before. So together with a team of sound designers, we create lots of sonic textures. And just like painters and artists that are able, through colors, to transmit emotions, we are able to connect frequencies with emotion, so that every time that one is approaching an electric vehicle, it could feel an emotion that, beyond fulfilling the legal requirements, is also speaking about the identity and the character of the car. And I call this new paradigm sound genetics. With sound genetics, I define, first of all, an aesthetic space of sound. And then I try to create an innovative way to generate soundscapes that we don't know. Soundscapes that would allow us to envision abstract sound words and to make them tangible and audible. Now try to follow me. Sound genetics is based on three main steps. First of all, we define what I call the sonic organism. Then we describe the variations of this organism. And at the very end, we compose the sound genes, which are the elements that make this sound entity unique. Now, in order to define the sonic organism, I have defined a cluster of properties that every sound that I compose should have. I try to transfer to sound, this small entity, the emotional power of the music. And just like dancers on a stage, I want sound to perform in the street, to design trajectories of beauty in our cities. And it's not just about the sound of a car. It's about the memory of my father coming back home. And sound has the power to create sense of wonders that hypnotizes us. And ultimately, sound goes beyond the human condition because it allows us to transcend. As a second step, we have to define the identity of the variations. And we do this through two steps. The first one, we have to understand the acoustic identity of a car. So just like every one of us here in the room has a different body and a different voice, so every single model of a car has a different way to propagate the sound field outside. So first of all, through acoustic measurements, we have to know how this looks like, so that we know the acoustic identity of the car. And once this has been done, then we define all the sonic variations. And so just like a single voice can produce different tones and timbres, we define several variations within a space of 8 words that you see here. And they show the way where we want to go in the future with sound. So concepts like visionary, elegant, dynamic, embracing are all words that we want to feel when you are listening to the sounds. And the last step is the compositional step. So we reach the moment in which we conceive new sound. And now I want to show you how I transform something that it was not sound into sound. And the first example comes from a performative art installation called Tell Me Your Secrets that I've created with artist Toxiplasm. So we have built 2 sculptures, and the idea was that all the people that were entering the museum were allowed to record their secrets. I had composed an algorithm which was transforming the secrets into a sonic score. And during 30 days in which we were performing 5 hours a day, we went to all these sort of secrets. So now how did I compose this algorithm? This is a sketch from the score. And I want you to just look at this scheme here. And it's based on an idea taken from music communication, where it is possible to describe all the possible emotion that humans can feel through 2 parameters: balance and arousal. Balance described if an emotion is positive or negative, and arousal if an emotion is create lots of activity or less activity. So the idea was to create a journey through all the possible emotions. And I set together lots of parameters that were affecting the way the secrets were transforming in time. And one of them was, for instance, the formant frequencies, which are the resonant frequencies of the vocal tracts. Let me show you how this looked and sounded like.
You were severed from me. Actually, I'm fortis world, the world that never heals. You left. Will I grow another?
There's no difference between you and I.
There is no
difference between you and I.
opportunity for a prosthetic soul. Just her devastating sorrow, but her son who will never walk again. You'll slowly learn to walk again.
Now let me show you a total different example. As I'm speaking now, I produce a sound field. Well, it is actually amplified through the speakers, and they are diffusing the sound in the space. And as this sound is moving in the space, will hit at some point against the surfaces. And this is how it would look like. So a few years ago, I had recorded and measured several ways of sound to scatter against the wall, and I was investigating the effect of this scattering on the perception of people. And last year, it just happened that the Bavarian Radio Symphony Orchestra asked me to compose ringtones for a mobile phone that they were going to play. So I ended up composing 7 of them, and for one, I have taken this beautiful plot, and I took a section of it, I superimposed it on the displacement of the musician on stage. And then the idea was to follow this gradient of color from the center towards all the possible directions. So I have, it's tricky, but it's not difficult. So I have translated, in terms of time, frequency, and intensity, every gradient for every instrument section of the orchestra. So as you can see here, for instance, the string section will start and will play pianissimo, so very soft, and will do a crescendo, and will go up on the frequency scale. At some point, the brass and the woods will come in, and then this ringtone will finish with a piano and an harp playing in the upper part of their keys. So let's listen how this sounded like. So this is what you can make out of something that it's not sound. And now let's go back to cards. And let me show you again the first example that I played for you before. And now I want to show you how a potential sound based on this approach of sound genetics could sound like. Cards are a metaphor of sound, distance and journey, of adventure and anticipation, of setting out and returning, but also of complexity, of intelligence, of human intuition and accomplishments. And sound has to glorify all that. I see cards both as living creatures and as highly complex performative art installation. The sounds that we can compose through sound genetics will allow us not only to celebrate this complexity, but also to make the world a more safe and elegant place. Thank you.